All right, again, this is Frank DeMora. I'm going to be giving you some other information I call the Middle East war connections, and you're going to see why. One of the reasons why I'm giving this to you is because this war, the Psalm 83 war and the Ezekiel war that you see right here in this map, that haven't been fulfilled yet. And so we're looking towards the future. We're seeing the events that are being played out right now, showing us indications that both of these wars are on the horizon. So let's go in for those people that just found my site that may not know anything about Bible prophecy or what Psalm 83 or Ezekiel 38 is. First of all, Psalm 83, that war, is going to be fought first, and then the Ezekiel war. The people who are in each war differ. The people in the Psalm 83 war, you'll see numbered 1 to 10, they are all the nations that border Israel right now. And so when you look to the right-hand side of the photo that I took when I was in Israel, the right-hand side are the modern-day names of the countries that we see listed in the Old Testament. And I'm going to be dealing with Egypt right now, and you'll see it number 4. They are the Hagarenes, all right? So the Hagarenes, or the Egyptians, are numbered with all the rest of these people to attack Israel. And we know what their aim is to do. Their aim is, as we see in verse 4, as they said, "Come and let us cut them off as being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." And so, what does that tell you? Very simple, that they want to destroy them. And of course, we know from verse 5 that all of these countries are going to come together as a confederate army against Israel in the last days. And so I'm making a connection here. I want to put together, first of all, Egypt, what's going on in Egypt, and for me to do that, let me move this out of the way. For me to do that, let me go right to the first article. You'll see it right here. Now, I've been warning you for years about Egypt. I've been warning you specifically about the last year of what the Muslim Brotherhood what they were going to do in the near future. And everything that I warned, you can go back and read all the posts about the Muslim Brotherhood, my warnings about that, or you can go back to a couple of my posts last week where I showed you what I said last year about the Muslim Brotherhood. Everything I stated has come to pass. Now, I've warned in the past that the Muslim Brotherhood would get elected. They got elected. I said that they would move to Sharia law. That's exactly what they're doing. I said, watch out for the new Muslim Brotherhood president to become a ruthless dictator, and so far that is coming to pass as well. I've told you that the Muslim Brotherhood was dedicated for the destruction of the nation of Israel in accordance to what I know from Psalm 83. It becomes really important when you see this. So let's look at the headline here. Israeli expert, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood wants to destroy us. So, I mean, what does that tell you right up front? It tells you exactly what the Bible has already predicted was going to happen. That they were going to attack Israel, thinking that they were going to destroy Israel. And so it says, a leading analyst of Israel's Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies says that the Western leaders are naive if they believe that the Muslim Brotherhood has abandoned its quest to destroy Israel merely because its leadership role in Egypt. I mean, right there should tell you exactly what I've been warning. I mean, if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe the person who was writing this. Now, the Dr. Laed Poret agreed with the assessment of many Western and Israeli leaders that Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood overlords either won't be able to or won't desire to start a direct military conflict with Israel in the coming 10 years. And I think that's a very long time out. I believe that this war is going to happen a lot sooner than that, specifically because of what we read in Thessalonians, where the Lord said, when they're calling for peace and safety, sudden destruction is going to come. We know that the peace process is stalled. I said this 100 times before, so the setup is prime right now. Now it goes on to say that the Muslim or the Brotherhood recognizes Israel's military and technological advance and doesn't want to start a war. Well, you're not kidding, because they'd get their butt kicked. But if all of the nations were to attack at the same time, the Muslim Brotherhood would have a different opinion about waiting 10 years to wipe them out, and I believe that's exactly what Psalm 83 shows us. So it says the Muslim or the Brotherhood realizes that Israel's military, again, is, obviously a technological advance and doesn't want to start that war. But that doesn't mean that the Brotherhood won't engage in and facilitate hostile activities directed at Israel. The possibility of security threat emanating from Egypt in the near future cannot be dismissed, noted Porritt, especially considering the Brotherhood's active efforts to demonize Israel in the eyes of the average Egyptians. And since the recent rise to power, the Muslim Brotherhood has influenced the Egyptian street to think that Israel is no longer a stabilizing factor in the region, Porritt explained. The Brotherhood has convinced the Egyptian public that a treaty with Israel harms Egypt's national security and threatens the eternal Egyptian stability. Now, last year I said, watch the peace plan. It's gonna continue to stall out. It is. I also said that Egypt would break their agreement with Israel. And what does this tell you? Obviously, not just this article, but many of the articles show that that's exactly what's happening. They're talking about the security agreement that was established between Sadat and Begin, and that is going out the window, as you can see. So here we have a direct correlation between what we see in Psalm 83 and Egypt's role in the coming Psalm 83 war. So let's go back and take a look at, let's take a look at the next one, which would be Ezekiel 38. In Ezekiel 38, we know that Russia is going to come from the northern quarters. It says that in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. It says it twice, they'll be coming from the northern quarters. And Russia has military bases in Syria. They also have bases in Lebanon. And they also have Navy ports in Iran. Now, Iran is mentioned also in the Ezekiel war. So let me show you the connection between Libya. Now, Omar Gaddafi had strong ties with Russia. And those ties, obviously, if you know the Ezekiel prophecy, you know that it didn't matter if it was going to be the ex-Libyan leader Gaddafi or the new leader of Libya, that they were going to arm themselves with the Russians. This is what the Lord shows us, and to come down to try to take Israel out. So take a look at this. I'm going to show you a couple articles. It'll be very quick. Here's the first one. Take a look at this. This is December the 20th, today. The Russian warships sail for Syria. Now, Syria is directly north of Israel. We know, as I said in Ezekiel, that attack will be coming from the northern quarters. So what does that tell you? Large anti-submarine ship for waters near Iran. All right, so you have the Russian ships going to Iran. That also is a connection between Ezekiel 38 because Iran is aligned with Russia. Russian warships set out Tuesday, December 18th for two Middle East flashpoint designations. Naval sources in Moscow reported that two assault ships, a tanker and an escort vessel, were detected from the Baltic Fleet and are sailing for the Syrian port of Tarshish. And this is where they've had this Tarshish port for the last couple of years, possibly to evacuate the Russian citizens because obviously Syria is in a civil war. A second naval group led by Russia's largest anti-submarine vessel is on its way to the Gulf of Aden in Oman, close to the Persian Gulf and Iran. The ship's destined is for Syria and the Russian fleet's two largest amphibious assault vessels. Okay, so I just wanted to point out so you can see that there's definitely a connection between Moscow, the Russians, going into Syria directly north of Israel. The Ezekiel attack will be coming from the north, and you also have in the mix, you have the Iranians as well. So moving on to the next one, let me show you this next article here. And it says this. Look at this. Let me get it down a little bit. Russia and Libya, will they restore military and technical cooperation? Well, Moscow will resume cooperation with Tripoli on the training military specialists for the Libyan army. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov told reporters on Thursday such a cooperation, which was in place in the former Soviet Union, was scrapped in the wake of the civil war in Libya and was subsequent ouster of Mohammed Gaddafi. So it says the Bogdanov, who is also the Russian president's special envoy to the Middle East, declined to elaborate. Oriental expert Gomar Ishdov says that the resumption of the military and technical cooperation between Moscow and Tripoli is of paramount importance to both countries. All right, so there you go. Now, Libya desperately needed more arms right after Gaddafi's coming to power in 1969. Now, in my book, I'll outline all of this information for you. I'll show you that the Russians actually paid off billions of dollars in debt of the Libyans' debt so that they can arm Libya and also become a military alliance with Libya. And now, as you can see in this article, they're picking this up again. They are going to become, just like they did, friends, military friends. They're restoring the alliance between the Russians and Libya. And this isn't a coincidence. You could read the whole article for yourself, but this is not a coincidence. What you're looking at is the handwriting on the wall. The Lord showed us that this was going to happen, and Libya's down here in the Magog War. And so look for it. It's going to happen in the near future. I'm praying that you'll believe what the Lord is showing us, because if you don't, well, stay around. You're going to see it on the news in the future.